What is going on YouTube? Gavin here and welcome to the 33rd episode of the Tech Pills bi-weekly live stream. Alright, let's jump right to the first news of today. I announced this in the title of this live stream. There's a new Linux app for Reddit. It's called Jara, and it's made by yours truly. I finally bit the bullet and made a Reddit app for Linux. So before showing you the current status of the application, playing around with it, basically, I just wanted to tell you something about this app by itself. So I have ordered, as I've said in a previous episode of this live stream, I've ordered the PinePhone Manjaro Community Edition, and I will try and use it as my daily driver phone and to do basically all that I do with my phone. And granted that I don't do very much with my phone to begin with, but anyway, I was scrolling through the apps of my current Android phone, and the thing that I realized is that the two apps that I use the most are YouTube for watching videos and Reddit when I'm trying to consume media. Of course, I use the browser Heck a lot, so there's that. But of course, as far as browsers go, we do have many nice browsers on Linux, and besides Epiphany or GNOME Web does work pretty well on mobile devices, and I'm pretty sure you can make Firefox work decently on mobile devices as well. Anyway, the one thing that was missing was the a Reddit app, and there are so many nice Reddit apps on Android and other platforms. The one I'm currently using is open source. It's called Infinity for Reddit, and I've taken quite a lot of inspiration from it, and I've made a new Reddit app for Linux built with GTK and Python, as I usually do, and it's called Jara. Jara, or Giari. It's Jara for Reddit, if you want to call it that. And yeah, let's actually go right into it and show you what I'm talking about here. All right, and let me actually also try and make this a little bit bigger. Today doesn't want to work today. Anyway, just pretend it's bigger. I don't know. So this is Jara, and note that currently the icon is a work in progress. I asked on Reddit if someone wanted to try and help me create an icon, and this is what I currently have. Not 100% sure about it yet, but as for anything else, the app is mostly in its final form. Of course, you have your front page right when you start the app, and you do have your sections. So you have best, hot, and new as far as the sections that you can select go. You have an option to create posts, be them text. Here you can select a subreddit. It can be a link, or it can be a media. And by media, it supports videos and photos. And you also have your typical stuff. You can see your user and your karma and your subreddits. You can see your profile. Of course, not everything is loaded at startup. Some things are loaded asynchronously, so you will see stuff like this around the app. I still have to implement loading spinners or something to indicate that the application is loading and that the current state is not just empty. So yeah, there are not a lot, but some missing things here and there throughout the app, because of course at this current stage it's not final. I think what I need right now is feedback from users, and I do know of many little problems here and there that I do have to fix, but I just wanted to share with you and with the wider community this nice app that I've been building. And this is the work of like 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, something like that. I'm not sure. You can check from the Git commits. And it's one of those apps that is not like I didn't want to build this. I didn't want to make this myself because I know that you have to think about many things when you're doing a client for a third-party service. The first thing is that ideally you may want to expose all of the features of the online service on your app, and I'm not really planning on doing that currently. There are some things like chat in Reddit that I don't want to implement because I don't use it, and I don't think that many people do. And besides, I don't even know if the API wrapper or API library that I'm currently using does support chat. I think it does, but I don't know to which extent. And yeah, this is built using Python, and it's using PRAW or PRAW as the Reddit library. It's Python Reddit API wrapper, and it's been a great library. It does have some bugs, and I still have to work around them or try to do something about them. But as far as like what I need, it actually does a pretty good job. There's also some implementation of searching. You can search subreddits or users currently, and if you go to a particular subreddit, say Linux, of course you see a little header here. So let's see some information, leave button. If you are not part of the subreddit, it shows join instead, and you can search inside subreddits for posts. So there's that. It's not 100% yet, and I just really want you, if you're one of those people that uses Reddit, I just wanted to let you know about this and tell you that you can use it. You can try it out for yourself. You can see how it works for you and possibly find bugs and help me with the development of this little thing. It's not an easy task. Again, there are many levels this application has many layers. There's the UI, then there's the API wrapper logic, and then there's everything that's facing the user that's not directly UI related. And it's not been easy. If you want to help, any contribution is highly appreciated. Currently, I'm still looking for an icon for this app, and I don't know, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or whatever, just let me know. You can find the application on GNOME GitLab. I will post the link in the chat right now. It's gitlab.gnome.org/gabmus/giara, Giara. And that's it for this news item. So let's move on to the next news of today. Microsoft brings their least wanted product to Linux, the Edge browser. So Microsoft just recently announced that they will release a preview for the Edge browser in October for Linux. Wow, Microsoft Edge is the latest iteration of the infamous Internet Explorer, now based on Blink, also known as the web engine behind the Chrome and Chromium browsers. So let's talk about this. There isn't too much to say here. It's basically Chrome with a slightly different UI and Microsoft data mining instead of Google's. And you will also be delighted to know that the default search engine will not be Google, but Bing, of course. So just go ahead and download that. I mean, who doesn't want Bing as their default search engine? Of course, I'm kidding. Microsoft Edge is and always was a bad idea. Microsoft did realize that their Internet Explorer thing wasn't going anywhere. They tried, they were defeated by Mozilla, and now they're trying again. Now that the web is basically dominated by Chrome and the Blink engine, they did the most logical thing they could do. They ripped off Chromium and built their new browser on top of it. And of course, they don't really care too much about creating something new. I'm pretty sure that all they care about is that people use their products so that they can have leverage in the market and try to dominate whatever part of the market they're in. I mean, in the case of the Edge browser, if they reach a critical mass, they can direct the development of web technologies in a certain direction instead of another. And of course, once you reach critical mass, as for instance Chrome has in the recent years, you basically become the default, and everything that doesn't work on your browser is just, I mean, if you're not using like the standard or the de facto standard web browser, everything's just broken. And of course, it's not really like that. I am a Firefox user, and Firefox has been working great for me, but there are some websites that do things in a certain non-standard way that don't really work too well in Firefox. For instance, YouTube doesn't really work too well in Firefox, and also some websites that do require you to use Chrome or Chromium because they're using some kind of, I don't know, non-standard way of doing things. Like for instance, Skype or Microsoft Teams are two good examples that require you to use either Edge or Chrome to run their websites. And of course, if you just go ahead and change the user agent in your Firefox, for instance, if you change the user agent to show that you're using something like Chrome, everything magically works as it should. So it's not really even a limitation of what you're doing. There's probably something in there that doesn't really work that well in Firefox, but for the most part, those apps that just don't let you use them on browsers other than Chrome or Chromium or Edge just work pretty decently on Firefox. And I don't know what's going on with that, but of course, this is a strategy. And I remember this from back in the day with Internet Explorer. If you're at least as old as me, I barely remember it. I was very young at the time, but I remember websites that told you explicitly, this website is optimized to work on Internet Explorer. If you're not using Internet Explorer, your experience won't be great. And I'm not sure that I really ever found a website that plain didn't work without Internet Explorer. Maybe I'm too young to remember something like that. But what is happening right now is that Microsoft and Google are basically trying to do the same thing here in 2020, and by basically monopolizing the web browser market with their own offering, and everything else that's not Blink basically is not supported. And rest assured that big businesses, and I mean big web apps like Teams, Skype, and other weird web apps won't work as nicely in Firefox as they do in Chrome or Chromium or Edge. And that's the most important point. I think that we as a community, we as people who value choice and freedom, and having the possibility to have sane standards for the World Wide Web, for the internet, and for everything that can be accessed through a browser, we should boycott Chrome, Chromium, Edge, everything that's based on Blink. I know that Blink is technically a great web engine. I'm not talking about like the technical side of things. It's just that, and it's even open source. I mean, that's the most ridiculous part. It's an open source project that I feel like boycotting, because they're trying to dominate the web again, and we can let it happen. I'm not sure if they want to quote unquote save us from this evil will be Mozilla, considering what they're going through. They're practically losing money. They had to lay off many employees, and their situation overall doesn't look great. I still use Firefox as my main browser. It's still a great browser, but I'm not sure where Mozilla will go from now on. Still, anything but Blink is still making a good choice. If not for the technical side of things, it's, again, for the freedom of the web as we know it. Some other things about this particular thing about Edge. I mean, I've seen many Linux news outlets talking about this. Edge on Linux, finally, it used to be a big deal. I mean, for Linux users back in the day, being able to use something like Internet Explorer was just a dream, because the app was so big, and projects like Wine at the time, I'm not sure they even managed to run something as complex as Internet Explorer for the time, of course. But as time progressed, of course, you can now do whatever you want on Linux. And even if we didn't have Edge, it wouldn't have made a difference because we still have Chrome and Chromium. If we really want or need to use a Chrome or Chromium based web browser, we can just go ahead and download Chromium from the repos and just call it a day. And Chromium is open source, and it's fully open source compared to what Microsoft is doing with Edge. Of course, Edge is not open source, even if it's based on an open source project, and that's Chromium, of course. And even if you don't want like all of the Google integrations that Chromium comes with, you can download something like Google Chromium, and that's what I have installed in my system. I don't use that as my default browser, but from time to time I have to go to websites that don't really work too well in Firefox, and I do use Google Chromium for those. And Google Chromium is basically Chromium without all of the Google integrations, and they're trying to reduce the monitoring and the spying and whatever shenanigans going on there in default Chromium, and try to reduce that to a minimum, because of course, being that Chromium is open source, the community just can't do that. And what reason would anyone have to use the Edge browser on Linux? I'm not sure. Any sane individual at this point knows how to choose a web browser, and we're at the point that we're in right now because people did know better and chose Chrome as their default browser, even though their computers came pre-installed with Internet Explorer or, I don't know, Safari. People just went ahead and downloaded Chrome from, like, of course, I mean, part of the reason is because Chrome has a big giant ad in the Google homepage, and of course people are going to listen to whatever is put in the front page of Google because they're Google, right? I mean, that's simply how it goes. And I'm not really sure if people will go ahead and use Edge. It's not a browser that has anything new. It's a different skin on top of Chrome. And plus it comes with more, well, I don't know if that's more, but it comes with the Microsoft tracking instead of Google tracking. So if you prefer to give your data to Microsoft instead of Google, I mean, that's an option, I guess. But in reality, you shouldn't give your data to any corporation. There's no reason to do that. Anyway, let's close off this new segment. That's actually kind of depressing. I don't really like to talk about Microsoft. It's just really a company that I don't like, and what they do, I think it's not great for the consumers, for the people that are using their products, or the wider ecosystem in general. Let's move on to another news. So the other day I found out about a new piece of software, and apparently this thing has been around for quite a while. It's called VI-dir, and it's an awesome tool to batch edit files and directories with your favorite editor. So let's actually go ahead and show you what I'm talking about for once. All right, let me open the terminal and zoom in a little bit. Oh. All right, there we go. So let's say I want to go to the ReadyGTK or Java repository. This is the repo. These are all the files that are in it. And let's say that I want to change the name of everything that contains Jara with something else. And it's actually something that I needed to do the other day, because the Jara was previously called ReadyGTK, because it was a temporary name, and at the time I started the project, I didn't really know what to call it. So I just called it ReadyGTK, and I knew that at some point I had to rename it. And let's suppose that I want to rename Jara to something else, like, I don't know, Reddit again, I guess, whatever. What I have to do is either manually rename all of the files, or just use something like fd pipe VI-dir dash. There you go. This is my Vim, and it has each and every one of these lines is a file or a directory inside of this folder. I can just go ahead and rename everything that I want, or say I want to delete. I want to delete something. I want to delete this file. I just delete the row, and save the file, and all the changes are applied to my directory structure. This is a really handy piece of software, and I just recently found out about it, and I don't know how I have lived without it for so long. It's just so useful, and you can use whatever editor you want, of course. You don't have to use Vim like I do. You just need to set your editor environment variable, and then you can use whatever editor you want, be it a command line editor like Vim or Nano, or you can use something like Emacs or Gedit or Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text, or really whatever you prefer as your text editor. And it lets you, it's something so simple yet so useful. It lets you edit or rename folders and files with a text editor. So you can do search and substitute, you can delete whole lines, you can do a Control F and find whatever line, whatever file that contains a certain, I don't know, a certain keyword that you want to delete. Just something I want to let you know about. It's a great tool, and as I've shown you in this little demo, you can use it either by itself. You just type VIDIR, and it just lets you rename the files and directories in your current directory in the first level of your current directory, or you can use it with a pipe. And in this case, I've used FD, which is a Rust replacement for find, and you can just do FD pipe or find. I guess you can do something like find period pipe VIDIR space dash. That sounds like a magical incantation, but if you know anything about terminals and using pipes and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure you will be comfortable using this. It's a very useful tool. It can be installed in your favorite distribution, installing the More Utils package. It's the More Utils package, and it should be in most distributions out there. It contains other tools, of course, but VIDIR is one of these. And at this point, I'm curious to see what other tools this More Utils package contains. Anyway, let's move on to the next news of today, and let's talk about another nice app for the Linux desktop. It's called Identity, and it's an app that lets you compare videos and images easily. So let's say you're a content creator, and you typically publish stuff online. You're probably familiar with like image or video compression and stuff like that. How many times has it happened that you use this or that particular compression or codec, and just ask yourself, does it look worse? Does it look anything different? Of course, this is not an easy task. Comparing videos or pictures isn't easy, and the human brain isn't particularly good at immediately picking up small differences between images, or even worse with videos. And what you can do, what I've done up to this point, was splitting, like having two media players for videos or image viewers for images on the left and right side of my screen, and just going back and forth with my eyes and trying to find differences visually between the two media files. Of course, that's not an easy task, because you cannot perceive the change between one and the other, and you can do something like put the two windows in full screen and just alt tab between them. That's not very convenient, but what this app allows you to do, Identity, is open different files, two or more files, and you can do this with images or video files, and it lets you switch with either a simple click or using keyboard shortcuts like 1 and 2. You can switch between the two or more files that you have open, and they will be shown overlapping one another. I mean, if you go to one and go to the other, and of course they're implying that they're the same media, just with different codecs or compression or whatever, you can immediately pick up the differences because you have a direct way to do an A/B comparison easily. And with videos, the nice thing is that it does have a media player built in, and it synchronizes the time on the timeline between the two videos. So you can just go to a certain frame and go back and forth on that specific frame, and you are sure that that is the exact frame that you want to compare, and you can tell the difference between the two images and judge by yourself if I don't know, this particular compression or this particular codec is fine for what you need to do, or if you need to use something else. It's a really useful, handy tool, and I will probably use it a lot for my work. I mean, doing videos for the channel, or even for doing anything else that has anything to do with images. It's really, really useful. The idea is genius, and I wonder why nobody has done anything like this before. Or maybe I just don't know about any other similar software. Whatever. This app is just great. Again, it's called Identity. It's available as a Flatpak, and you can install it now on your system by going to flatapp.org and searching for Identity. Alright guys, I think this is gonna wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please make sure to press the thumbs up button down there, and also remember to subscribe to my channel for more of this. Also remember to join the TechPills community at techpills.technology/community, and you can find all the links in the description, or you can follow one of these handy QR codes on the left side of the screen. Again guys, thanks again very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.